Welcome to GP Bullhound's Tech Thoughts. Today is the 26th of March 2021, and we are here with Inge Heydorn and Johan Rosland for our weekly market roundup. Inge, tell us what happened in the markets this week.
This week has been, I would say, quite boring. It's been jumping around, no real structure, and the market is waiting a little bit of a new lead. The 10-year interest rate hasn't moved really. We haven't heard any big news. So it's a little bit waiting for the next lead now, where to head. So it's been quite volatile, but still, I would almost say we haven't gone anywhere in this week. So it's a wait and see week.
Thanks, Inge. And Johan, has there been any notable reports this week?
Yeah, one of our favorite cloud companies have reported. So Adobe reported this week, and it was really good growth. It was up 26%, a nice acceleration from last quarter when it was around 15%. And what is interesting to mention also, since we like DocuSign, is that their document cloud area grew over 30%. So that's super interesting. They also got some notable clients like Amazon and Bank of America within their document cloud offering. Stock price was flat. Market probably expected that guidance would be increased even more. They did increase it, which they normally don't do in the first quarter of the year, but it was only reflecting the uptick in this quarter. So it wasn't reflecting an acceleration for the rest of the year.
Thanks, Johan. Inge, my next question is to you. As we all know, there is currently a global shortage of semiconductors. What do you think about that?
I would almost start with into the equipment side and start from that side. And we had the North American billing numbers coming for February at 3.1 billion after 3 billion in January. Let's put that in context. If you put that times 12, we end up at around 36 billion US dollar. The global wafer market is around 70 billion, which means the number in February is very, very important. It tells you roughly about 50% of where the market is for the moment. So it's a really, really good indicator. And ASML numbers are not included, as this is the North American numbers. And it's also probably a little bit less growth than what we have in other areas like Malaysia and Philippines. But the growth was still 30% year over year, January and February, and above what we saw in Q4. So really, really good signs. The next thing that happened in the area was the Intel update, as probably everybody has heard about. And the interesting thing is two things. We start first with the numbers. Intel upgraded the capex guidance this year to 20 billion from around 13-14, but they also highlighted they will build 2 new big fabs for the future. So invest heavily to compete with TSMC and Samsung. But now look at the numbers for this year. That has nothing to do with the new factories. This is just capacity short run they are building for this year, the 20 billion. So the next year, 22 and 23, is going to be even higher to be able to build those 2 factories, which is probably going to be up and running in 23 or 24. So what does it really mean? It means that we're going to see demand being very, very high for the equipment names in this year, in 22, in 23, and maybe even 24. So really, really good news. So looking at these names, we really, really like them. They are high on gross margin. They are mainly single supply in each of their segments. They're generating massive amount of cash flow. And to the last comment, Applied Materials was out and increasing the buyback program to $7.5 billion US dollar on a 100 billion market cap. So really, really good news for the lenders.
Very interesting. Thank you, Inge. Johan, any final thoughts that you would like to share today?
Yeah, 2 things. First, Tencent also reported this week. It was, as usual, a pretty strong report when it comes to the headline number, grows 26%, but it's a lot of businesses within that group, and it's also based in China, so you have to look a bit down in the figures to really see the underlying growth. So in the gaming segment, it wasn't. If you look at the cash revenue, it was actually down 10% quarter on quarter. And what we have mentioned before, the game also from a developer in China called Genshin Impact, that is really big, and they announced numbers this week, or actually Sensor Tower estimated their numbers for their mobile game that is have been grossing over $1 billion in just 6 months. And putting this in perspective, it's the fastest mobile game grossing that much. Pokemon Go, it took 9 months. So really impressive to do it in 6 months. And bear in mind that this is a cross-play game, so you can play it on PC and console, and you're of course earning money there as well. So this is kind of a one of many games taking market share from Tencent, both domestically but foremost internationally. Inge, you spotted this news. Any comments? And we have been talking about this before on Tech Thoughts.
Yeah, remember they went bananas in December and recruited 800 developers already, only in December, which is just amazing amount of number of people. But I also want to put it in context in terms of COVID and lockdowns, because you think about Tencent, they're already down on bookings in Q3 from Q2. So Q2 was really the peak for them last year when we had the full lockdown in China. Then we had the slowdown in Q3, and now we have the slowdown in Q4, which is quite interesting though. And also they haven't released any big new games. So there are two things that can hold up the growth when we go ex-COVID. It's really like for likes, making it simple. So it's not just COVID against normalized, but also that you release new games. Otherwise, you will be struggling across the industry, I think, in the short run with the growth rates due to the fact that the COVID numbers really increased the growth quite a lot.
And they had some problems last year to get games, getting them allowed to sell, because the state wanted to minimize the amount of time that young people spend on games. And it was fun because in this report, I think it was the first report when they mentioned how much of the revenue that was from people below 16, and they are saying that it's only 3%. And they're also saying that they're doing a lot to help parents to protect their kids and limit their playing. So they are addressing this. Finally, we promised last week to show you the Facebook innovation that they call, it doesn't have a name yet, so we are thinking how to call it, but it's a wrist-based controller that fetches the information from neural impulses. So it's not actually tracking what you are doing, it's tracking your muscles and the electric signals there. So it's really cool. And this can be used in VR, for example. You don't need a bulky controller like the current Oculus that Facebook is having. And it's also really nice for typing, as we can see here. Inge, what do you think about this product? Would you buy it?
I think it looks really, really cool. It'll be interesting to see the next step, if it's going to have a complete suit on you by using it. I think this could be used in gaming, as we talked about, but also in production and so on. So I think in general, people are underestimating a little bit what Facebook is doing in terms of development of hardware. So it's not just a social media company. They're doing quite a lot. You talked about Oculus, but they're doing quite a lot on retailing and on product innovation also.
Great. I think that's it for today.
Thank you so much, Inge and Johan, for sharing your insights today. And to everyone who's been watching and listening to us, let's wait and see what the markets have in store for us next week. We wish you a wonderful weekend and see you again soon.